Hello and welcome to the British Sitcom History Podcast. This is part 2 of our look at Trollied, so if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, please do go back and do that first. We've already looked at some of the main actors, such as Jason Watkins and Jane Horrocks. We haven't looked at Mark Addy yet, that's still to come, and we're halfway through our discussion. We're basically working our way through a lot of characters in Trollied over the years, so we're trying to look at as many as possible. So plenty still left to talk about, let's get back into it now.
We talk about Ian the security guard talking to Leighton. Let's talk a little bit more about Leighton's character because, Leighton's main characteristic is he's really thick.
Right, yeah. I wanted to have a word with you about this. How do you feel about something Trollied is very keen on, portraying characters who, have some sort of learning disability in a comedic fashion? And it's something they have about 4 or 5 different goes at this. Leighton is the prototype of it in the first series. He's the stupid character. And he's lovable, but he's foolish and he takes things quite literally, but in a sort of non-diagnosable way.
I don't know. I mean, you're not supposed to diagnose people at a distance, are you? But it feels to me like there's something there.
Yeah, obviously there's something there, but I don't think it's been written with, let's put an autistic character in here, or let's put a character with this in there. I think this is just a classic comedy foolish character.
Yes, all right.
The actor may be trying to make it somewhat realistic rather than totally comedic. But, none of these characters. So we have Leighton in the first few series, and later on
we get Jessie Cave, who plays a similar character. I think she seems to be more naive, like from a Christian cult or something.
That's more the idea. That they never figure out what to do with that character either. She starts fancying Gavin. She's into older men, and she's like rebelling against her mother, but don't tell anyone. Kind of. They never quite figure out what they're doing with her.
Then we have Aisling Bea, who comes in for a series. I love Aisling Bea. Like I absolutely love Aisling Bea. But that character again, she's the owner of Valco's daughter. Yes. So they can't sack her no matter how idiotic she is, and she really is comedically thick.
I think it's one of those things that, on paper, I like that concept. It's a great idea to pull this character in. You can't get rid of her. You have to pussyfoot around her. She doesn't even realise. But she's just so stupid.
It's too much, isn't it?
She's not, I'm rich and therefore I'm naive about the working world. She is, but she's actually stupid. Whereas I think just having a rich, privileged girl who then has to kind of confront working life may have been more interesting.
Yes.
They also have a love story with her and Daniel, which never vibes. It's like that never really makes any sense. No. She's cute, so you can see why you might be interested, but like that would never have any legs beyond like a Christmas party kind of vibe. So again, it just doesn't quite work. And then and then
Sally Phillips.
I don't think Sally Phillips is a stupid character. I think the Sally Phillips character is Lou, who is brought in as a night manager. She's just useless.
Yeah.
But stupid isn't quite right. I think they're at least doing something slightly different there.
Okay.
And they build a bit more on her character. But I still didn't like the character.
No, it didn't work for me.
Then we have Shy comes in the last couple of series, who's very literal. Like I think the idea is he's autistic and a very kind of you tell him to go and take care of the milk, and then he'll go and kind of like whatever he translates take care of milk to be.
Yes.
But again, they never quite figure out what they're doing with that. There's a lot of these smaller ancillary characters that they haven't got the time to do any work with them. And so they're just there for a bit of background comedy nonsense, and they never quite satisfy. And to use Donna, the security guard, as an example, that is how you do it. You bring her in, you know exactly what she's doing, and she seems to be a strong character. But so many times that's not working.
I think the way you've just described all of that, I don't really disagree with any of that. But I will say that I think Leighton, Joel Fry's character in the first 3 series, works better than the subsequent incarnations of it. There's an episode in Series 2 where Stephanie Beacham, as the new manager, basically sacks Leighton because he keeps making mistakes. And there's like a rebellion, it causes a mutiny because he's very popular. He's basically the shop mascot. But I don't think that would have worked, that storyline would have worked for any of the others. Yeah. There is affection for him. I don't just mean from the rest of the characters. I mean, we feel affection towards him as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that is because he's obviously he was written as one of the main characters. This is going to be one of our kind of foundation characters, as opposed to being brought in as a bit of side comedy. So I think they've just put more work into it.
Yeah.
I think he is a nice flavour to that original ensemble. I think he is a nice presence. Joel Fry, I think I've mostly seen him do slightly dim-witted characters. That seems to be his stock in trade. What else has he done?
Yeah, well, I recognised him. The first thing when I see Joel Fry, the first thing I think is Plebs. He was in Plebs, wasn't he? But he's been in loads of stuff. He was in a sitcom called Massive, which a couple of years ago, Beverly Rudd and Carl Rice were also in. And that's about it was in the 2000s, about a amateur rock band. He was in White Van Man in 2011 with Will Meller, playing a hapless handyman.
I've only seen bits and pieces, but yes, I'm aware of it. And I believe the writer of that did write at least one episode on Trollied.
Okay. Well, obviously, after that, he came into Trollied, but left in 2013. And he went from there to do Plebs. But he left Plebs early as well because I think he decided, I want to do more serious work. And, he's sort of in films now. So, he was, for example, he was in Paddington 2. He was one of the main characters in Yesterday, the Danny Boyle film.
Yes, I saw him in that.
And he was in Cruella, the 101 Dalmatians sequel.
Yes, which I admit I haven't seen, but he's a major role in that. Whereas, Yesterday, he's like the best friend of the main guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does seem to be moving up in his career.
I think he made a decision. He obviously left Plebs. I saw on YouTube, it was like one of these interviews on stage with the cast of Plebs,
Yeah.
And it was after Joel Fry had left, so it was the others on stage. And he was mentioned, and they all sort of made a jokey comment of, he's too good for us now, And it was genuinely good-hearted. It was funny.
Yeah.
But he obviously decided he was going to go on to greater things.
Yeah, that's fair enough, isn't it? Yeah. So we've got so many characters here that we're splintering off talking about lots and lots of different actors.
Yeah.
Let me just focus in on the episode a little bit, because this episode, as we talked about the soapy / episodic nature of the show, we have one central kind of thing that's going on in this episode, and then at least 3 subplots that are kind of overarching things.
Yeah.
But let's just focus in on our main plot and wrap that up, which is it's the 1 millionth customer.
And who is it? Do you recognise the millionth customer?
I do recognise her, but not in a kind of, that thing kind of way. But she's one of those actors, isn't she?
It's Ashley Maguire. So she was in This Country.
Oh, yeah.
She plays Big Mandy. But she was also in Greg Davis's Man Down. She plays the woman in the cafe who's absolutely insane. So she has a good line in insane characters. She's also in one episode of The Change, Bridget Christie's The Change, playing a similarly insane character.
What we get here is, well, first of all, we get a little comedy bit with the character of Neville, who is the unlucky sod, played by Dominic Coleman. And he's about to walk in as the 1 millionth customer. It's his day off.
Yeah.
And he allows her to go past because he's a nice, polite chap. And she becomes the 1 millionth customer. So just a little gag there that Neville, perennially unlucky.
And it's good because they don't make a big deal of it. You just sort of see him looking sad in the background. I quite like that.
The one nice thing about Neville, and he's always this sad sack, he's completely accepted it. And so he's generally quite chipper about everything, which keeps that character from being depressing. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll touch on him a little bit later on. But let's step into our 1 millionth customer. And of course, because it's Valco and because it's Trollied, nothing ever is quite works out how you want it to. Gavin's got this idea of this big promotion, 1 millionth customer, and obviously the 1 millionth customer is just some woman trying to buy a tin of beans, and she's just like, what's happening?
So Katie comes forward, and because she's been selected to be the face of Valco, she's got this Valco sash on, and she steps forward and says, "Congratulations on being on 1 million." I tell you what, Chanel Cresswell does a really good job here of bad acting. So she's playing a character who's been told to be
Give
happy,
it some
and
energy.
she's not very good at it. She's not very good at performance. It's a great little performance, that moment.
Congratulations, you are our 1 millionth customer.
Congratulations, madam. Yes, you are indeed Valco's 1 millionth customer.
So then Gavin is on a microphone. He's doing a big store. The prize is to do a store dash.
Yep.
And he's doing his best to try and pump it up with a big big, amazing thing that's going on.
Jason Watkins is great in this whole sketch, this whole scene, because he's sort of providing a commentary as she's running around as well.
Yeah.
And he's lapsing between trying to enthuse and be really enthusiastic about it, and then go, "Oh, that looks quite expensive. You're filling your trolley up with that."
For the crisp, that's quite a lot of crisp for her. And it's round her place for a crisp party. No booze!
Go on, love!
Oh gosh, she's fast like a greyhound.
Shut up!
She ends up filling up with olive oil. Oh, they're quite expensive, aren't they? She says at the end, "Gonna car boot it."
Yeah, it's a really nice bit, that whole thing, because it's that juxtaposition of Gavin's delight and enthusiasm as a promotion, and the person who's doing it is just like, I just want to get as much as I can out of this and then go home. And they managed to get a picture of her for the paper, and then she's just out.
Yeah.
So it's classic kind of sitcom stuff, isn't it, where everything just sort of slightly falls flat. But yeah, bless him, Gavin doing his best there. That's kind of the main thing. That's wrapped up pretty simply. So what about all our B plots? We've got Katie and Kieran. In this episode, Kieran is actually finally, after a lot of kind of back and forth, he seems to have split up with his girlfriend. He's certainly moved out, staying with Andy, and Katie finds out. So we don't really get much about that in this episode. It's just kind of setting that up for later. But basically, that's the first step for them getting together. He's split up with his girlfriend. So we've kind of dealt with that story. The other side story that's developing is Andy, the butcher.
Andy the butcher is leaving. Today's his last day.
Yes.
We're going to have a leave-in do for him tonight. And this has been set up over the last few episodes. Basically, Andy, the character, he's a complete know-it-all. You know, he thinks he knows everything. He's very pompous, a very proud man. And his bluff was called. When he said, I could go and work somewhere else and they'd respect me a lot more. And his bluff was called. And so he had to basically go and get another job. But he really doesn't want to leave.
But his pride won't allow him to say that. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Andy, right? One of the founding characters, definitely one of the kind of the tent poles that we're building this show around.
Definitely.
Mark Addy, one of the main names, and a lovely job.
I think he's great. You've got Jason Watkins, you've got Jane Horrocks, and you've got Mark Addy. They are definitely the three anchors of this first series for me.
Well, if you will indulge me, I can give you a bit of evidence for that, as opposed to just sort of opinion.
You had your stopwatch out.
Well, no, but in the credits, the closing credits sequence, which, by the way, takes the form of a receipt.
I love the closing credits.
Till
really
rolling
good,
up.
really good.
I really like that. That's a lovely touch.
Yeah.
Just like the opening credits. It's very on brand, very nice. And in the credits, we have, in this order, Mark Addy, Jane Horrocks, Jason Watkins.
Yes.
Then there is a line break, and then everyone else. And everyone else in alphabetical order. So there is a very definite, these three are our top billing guys, and then everyone else. Now, I did do a little bit of further looking at these credits. So when Stephanie Beecham comes in, she's above the line. So she is the fourth.
Yeah, that's how you get Beecham.
Yeah. And then, so just to move forward, Mark Addy leaves and is essentially replaced by Stephen Tompkinson, and he finds himself in the top three there.
That's interesting to me, because I don't think Stephen Tompkinson, I don't think he's as good as Mark Addy, but I don't think he's quite as dominant in the narrative, or he's as big a character as
he's definitely not
Mark Addy.
Just to jump forward a bit, Mark Addy leaves the series 3, that character leaves. Stephen Tompkinson's character, Brian, comes in, and it feels like a real like-for-like replacement. He's not a butcher, he's a pharmacist, but he's a pompous know-it-all.
He even gets Margaret with him, you know.
He gets the same sidekick. We'll talk about her a little bit later. Very much a like-for-like replacement in terms of the energy. Not exactly the same character, but also I think a like-for-like in terms of, like, let's put a big name in this. Let's someone with a real kind of pedigree of sitcom.
Yeah.
And that's Stephen Tompkinson. So we sort of concentrate on the first three series here. So let's not go into Stephen Tompkinson too much, but certainly he's got that pedigree. Drop the Dead Donkey was 20 years before this, so you know. And a nice addition. He's never quite reaches Mark Addy's level, but yeah, I think you're right. I don't think they put as much weight on that character as they did to Andy. But in the credits, our top three creditors for Series 4 are Stephen Tompkinson, number 1, Jason Watkins, and Miriam Margolyes.
Oh, interesting. So that's how you get Margolyes.
So Miriam Margolyes, just as a quick aside, she pops up in Series 4. She's just in one series. She's Colin's grandmother, and she's just there to be an annoying old woman, basically.
She won't take instruction from Gavin. She's very independent. And
I found her quite unpleasant, frankly. I didn't like the character.
I've written here, just a rude old lady. That's my notes on Rose. That's
I'll get Miriam Margolyes for that.
Oh, sorry, I've got one other note, which is, what range?
So then, after Margolyes leaves, in Series 5, Sarah Parish comes in as Cheryl Fairweather, and she is our top line credit.
Yeah, that makes sense, yes.
But here's the most interesting thing. For the last few series, it's Stephen Tompkinson, Jason Watkins, Sarah Parish. They're above the line, everyone else is in alphabetical order. Series 7, it's Jason Watkins, Stephen Tompkinson, Sarah Parish. It's Series 7, the last 7, when Jason Watkins, the Gavin Strong show, finally is like top billed.
Is it possible that you're reading too much into that?
No, definitely not. There's no way that happens accidentally.
I just can't imagine that Jason Watkins is the sort of bloke who says, I want to be top line.
Well, it took Series 7 before he was, so I don't think it is. But, yeah, that's what your agent's for, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
But there's no way you can argue that Stephen Tompkinson is a bigger factor in this show than Jason Watkins.
I totally agree with you that Jason Watkins is the star. I totally agree with you it's the Gavin Strong show. I just think it's interesting that there is a change there.
Yeah, I found that very interesting. Anyway, that was my little look at the credits.
Very good. So we were talking about Andy the Butcher, weren't we?
Yes.
So he's a pompous bullshitter, would never admit that he doesn't know something, would never admit to being wrong.
Lovely bit of ham, that. It's like the pig was made of velvet.
Ta-da.
Of course, you know who I'm related to, don't you?
George Clooney? No, Tom Cruise. Bet it's Tom Cruise, isn't it?
Don't be so daft. Natasha Kaplinsky.
Is there any way we can install a lie detector next to that, Minter?
No, it's true. We haven't seen each other for years, though. She's embarrassed to be around me.
I can see the truth in that.
Well, it's professional jealousy. See, most of the news reports she reads, stuff I already know. She can't take it.
So at least one day we can have a normal conversation.
He's the sort of character who thrives in an environment where people don't know that he's bullshitting. So he has Margaret, who we haven't really talked about in any detail yet, but she's just a sort of slightly airy, credulous woman.
She'll believe whatever.
And we get exactly the same thing with her and Brian. It's the perfect foil for Brian because it means he can just bullshit to his heart's content. And we do get that with Andy because we put Margaret with Andy, but he also has Kieran, and Kieran knows he's a bullshitter. Kieran is smart and perfectly capable.
He's Tim from The Office.
Exactly, yeah. He sees the world around him and for the ridiculousness it is. But Andy knows enough. He knows enough about meat to present himself as a knowledgeable butcher, and he gets away with it.
Very capable butcher.
So now in this episode, he's going off to a real butcher's where he'll be respected. And perhaps he knows deep down that he's not up to it. There's another episode in Series 3 where the ideas man, Richard Franz, comes up with the idea, or I think Andy comes up with this idea as one of his stupid things that he says, and someone actually calls him on it. He says, I could butcher a pig live in store. Yeah. And so they get him a pig, and he's just like, he is out of his depth. He doesn't know, he's panicking. So, yeah, obviously, for this comedy to work, occasionally gets called on it. But in this specific episode, he is going to leave to go to another job. He's too proud to kind of go back on his word. And so Kieran, being the smart man that he is, he goes to Gavin and essentially says, you need to convince Andy to stay. He won't do it himself. But if you talk to him, he'll do it. And Gavin, being the very good manager that
he's a good man, isn't he? He does it.
He's a good manager, and he does this in a perfect way that makes Andy feel like he's the winner.
He gives. Do you know what? When I used to work in retail, I used to be an area manager for Carphone Warehouse, and I have had this conversation with people who are about to leave. We used to call it a name badge promotion. So I would spend £8 on a new name badge for you that would say senior sales consultant, and that would keep you happy for another 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happens here.
I've given my word to Stark's Farm Foods. I'm sorry. I'll make you head butcher. Head butcher?
Head butcher.
Officially? In my contract and everything?
New name badge. The whole 9 yards.
Head butcher. Pay rise?
No.
Good job I didn't get into this game for the money then.
This is a really well played scene.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Just a little aside here. How many, I don't know, maybe you made a list, how many times did people do things that would be an instant dismissal? As someone who is a manager in retail.
There's so much gross misconduct, especially when we get to talk about Colin and Lisa. Every single week, sackable offences galore. In full view of customers, in full view of management, no accountability.
Yes. Now, I appreciate it's a comedy world, and these things are going to happen. And part of this is explained by Gavin being so kind of forgiving and wanting to bring the best out of everyone.
But the funny thing is, like, Julie, the assistant manager, is seen as so uptight. And I'm like, well, she's the only one playing any sort of standards here. Am I Julie? Is that what's happening?
There's an episode where Katie, when she's assistant manager, she takes away the baker's radio because they're listening to porn. And in retaliation, they mock up Photoshop pictures of her and Daniel having sex. Revenge porn is what it's called nowadays.
Yes.
Back then, that wasn't a word. But and instead of sacking them immediately, which is what you would do, and they put these pictures up around the store, immediate sacking. But instead, they capitulate and go, fine, you can have your radio back. So it works.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's not a conventional workplace, I think, is the conclusion.
Speaking of reprehensible staff, we should talk about another little B-plot that is being taken on here and kind of runs through the first couple of series. They're developing the much more interesting will they, won't they relationship, because they pretty much do straight away, of Colin and Lisa, who are the two characters who are set out right at the beginning as the kind of work-shy slobs. They don't give a crap, and they're not even going to pretend.
In the first series, we in the first few episodes, I didn't feel like Colin was even a major character. He just seemed to be hiding, because that was his job. He was always hiding from doing any work, and so you'd sort of see him flitting around in the background. And, he had lines, but it took a little while before we got to know him as a character.
And I can't tell how much that was like a slow burn, deliberate choice, or if they just, here's loads of characters. Oh, actually, this one's working really nicely. These two are combining well. Let's make more of that. But boy, do they make more of it.
It keeps growing as the series progress.
Yeah, so along this series, they get together and like they're just shagging in the aisles, basically. And
it's
quite
gross.
literally, I think, sometimes.
Well, they have sex on the pool table in this episode, which is, for me, is unforgivable because the damage you could do to that cloth.
Yeah, come on. The storyline we have in this episode, which is carried over from previous episodes, they've got together, they've been shagging, but it's nothing serious, all right? We're just shagging, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then they've caught feelings for each other. Colin is jealous because Lisa shags loads of other blokes because she's a slag, right? Which she very much is. That's her character trait.
Yeah.
So he can't be in a relationship with her. And this episode, what we get in our B-plot of this episode is her realizing that, oh my God, I do love him after all, and I think I'm ready to commit to a serious relationship with him. We have a sort of parodical Richard Curtis-style dash to the airport. Where she has to run after him to try and stop him before he goes away. He's going on holiday to Faliraki on a shagging holiday.
That is what they call it, a shagging holiday.
Yeah, exactly. We can't go to the airport because this is Trollied. We have to do everything in the supermarket. And so there's a little bit of nonsense. But basically she's running after him, finally catches him at the last minute and declares her love for him.
What's going on?
I've changed my mind. I won't shag anyone else.
What's brought this on?
Well, you have. If that's what it takes to see your ass again, then I'll do it. I'll be a one-man woman from now on.
Do you mean it?
Yeah. I think I really love you and shit.
I think I love you and all.
So I agree with you. I kind of like this, but I will say that I think as the series progress and they get larger and larger characters within the drama, I don't think it works. I think they're good as little drop-in side characters, but when the drama starts to focus on them, they're too caricaturish. It's not the right feeling for the show.
I'm all right with it, I think. I'm okay with them. I do know what you mean. I think they don't put too much weight on them. Things happen later on. They have a kid and that sort of thing, but they never put a lot of weight onto it, really. But I do like the energy between them. It's grotesque, but in a comedic way, and I quite like them.
It's funny because she's fat, isn't it? That's the vibe.
Yeah, she's classic slag, and he's a slob as well. But they found each other, and it's nice.
Well, do you want me to tell you a little bit about the actors?
I certainly do. Yeah.
Well, do you know anything about Carl Rice, the guy who plays Colin?
I know the one thing. I know the one really
the one thing. So if I say for our listeners, if you don't drink your milk, you're going to end up playing for Accrington Stanley.
Accrington Stanley? Who are they?
Exactly. So I just did the Carl Rice lines from the milk advert that you all remember. So he was that exactly kid.
Milk? Ugh. It's what Ian Rush drinks. Ian Rush? Yeah, and he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I'm going to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly. Now get off. Give me some. Get off.
It's fantastic. This. It's like, I don't know if you could explain to someone from another country or perhaps someone under the age of 30 why this an advert that everyone remembers and everyone knows is this iconic advert, and it's for milk.
It's great because I watched the advert on YouTube yesterday to sort of say, and you can tell it's him. It's definitely him. But yeah, after that, exactly, and then. It cuts to a milkman putting a milk bottle on the doorstep, and it's just like milk.
It's like paid for by British milk.
For milk.
It's a different
No
time.
wonder the Americans think we're an absolute socialist nightmare. Milk.
But yeah, I mean, look, that as legacy goes, that's fantastic. But the fact that the idea that kid went on to be like a proper actor is weird. Like, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, it's exceptional.
Because most child actors don't. But certainly some kid in an advert who looks like he's been cast because he's just a Scouse kid. Like, they've probably found him on the street, kind of.
No, he was a child actor. Like, he was an actor, and he was in Children's Ward as a kid as well. He was in 18 episodes of that, and then he was actually in Brookside in 1994. For the best part of a year playing a child, a teenager. And then, he carried on. So you're right, a lot of child actors don't carry on, but he did. So he was a jobbing actor for a little while. And then in 1999, he was part of the National Theatre. He was nominated for an Olivier Award.
Wow.
Spinning on a bit, in 2010, he was in a BBC Three sketch show called Scallywagger. You heard of that?
Right. Yeah, because Beverly Rudd's in it as well, right?
Beverly Rudd's in it, who plays Lisa. So that's the first thing that they appeared in together. Neil Fitzmaurice was in that. Sally Lindsay was in it as well.
That makes me assume that was filmed like Manchester, Liverpool area. It was a northern production.
Most definitely. It was very much pitched as a northern television programme. It was filmed up here, and yeah. So then after that, he was in Massive, which I mentioned earlier, which Beverly Rudd was in, and it was about about the northern band.
Yeah.
More recently, he was in Brassic. I've never seen Brassic, but that's been quite big recently, and he was a star of that for 4 series. And actually, he's just appeared in quite a small role in. Have you seen Rosie Jones's Pushers? It's about a bunch of disabled people who become drug dealers because they're beyond suspicion by the police. So he's got a small role in that.
I'm aware of that. I haven't seen it. But
I must confess I haven't watched it yet, but I will. It sounds quite interesting. But yeah, Carl Reiser's in that. So he's still working, but he is kind of working in the comedy world. That seems to be where he's found his niche.
Nice. And what about Beverly Rudd?
Well, Beverly Rudd, as you said, there was some crossover there, but she was a graduate of Lambda. But she kind of was started off just doing small roles in television. She's also been in quite a bit of theatre. She's been in several National Theatre productions, and then Trollied. So again, from 2011, that role grew and grew. More recently, she's been in a musical, which was I've never heard of. It's called Chuck Chuck Baby, but. The reason that I'm mentioning it is that I saw a review and she was described as ebullient and tactless, which sounds exactly like she might have been typecast. This warm yet brash role set amongst female factory workers. There you go. So that's that. I think she's might have become a little bit typecast, unfortunately.
There's a nice episode in one of the Christmas specials where Colin goes off to another Valco store and he goes to the checkout and it's Lisa there. But it's not Lisa, but it's Beverly Rudd. But she's like, it's not Lisa, it's just she's got an RP accent. And she's like, oh, hello, how can I help you? Is everything okay? And he's just like utterly confused by it. It's like slightly surreal gag for Trollied. They don't really do that kind of thing, but it's a nice... It was like, because he stepped into another Valco and it's like everything's the same, but slightly off.
It's like Uncanny Valley, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Good.
That's Colin and Lisa. Okay, we remarkably still got quite a few characters left to deal.
It feels like we've been talking about this a long time, but yeah, there are still some left.
So many characters. Let's just actually, in terms of our episode, which we have technically been looking at, but as we've just been, there's so many characters we haven't had a chance to really. But I think that's these episodes are quite bitty. And like I say, this 1 millionth customer is our plot, but that's 6 minutes of the show. Everything else is just ongoing storylines, right?
Yeah.
So one little couple that we haven't talked about, and we get a little scene with them here, Sue and Linda.
Sue and Linda are on the customer service desk. And like usually, it is very sketchy. We cut across to them. They'll do a little, press the tannoy microphone, make an announcement to the store, and then they have a little chat, and that's it. And it's very, very often it's completely standalone. It's not connected to the rest of the episode.
Yes, and I don't know if I like that particularly. Like I say, I think that just adds to the sketchy feel of it, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't know, they're fine. We've got Linda, played by Faye McKeever. She becomes entangled with Neville specifically. They have a whole kind of love subplot. So she does a bit more. They never really make much of Sue. She's pregnant here. They have a bit where she has a baby. But
there's a funny episode earlier in series 2 where she tells everyone she's pregnant and no one can quite believe it.
I heard your announcement.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just so excited.
Hey, little babby. I'm not made of stone. Congratulations.
Thanks.
It's me who's having it.
Shit in hell, really? I mean, congratulations to you.
Everyone's reactions are so funny.
But Sue is like, it's fair. She's like a sort of a frumpy housewife kind of vibe. But I think she's already got kids, right? It's not like she's had some fling or something. She's just a married woman. But the two of them, Sue and Linda, just before we go on to the actors, I think for me, the energy between them is like they're best mates and they're always making each other laugh and all that. But it feels like two actors playing best mates making each other laugh. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of real chemistry there. And fair enough, they're doing a perfectly good job. But you know when sometimes, I'll give you another example. Gavin and Cheryl, when they come together, those two characters, you always feel like there's a real chemistry between them. And who knows, it might not be. They're just good actors, whatever. But I never get that from Sue and Linda. I never really believe this relationship. And I don't know, it just always falls a bit flat for me. And it's fine, whatever.
That's interesting.
So tell me about the actors here involved here.
Well, let's talk about Sue first, because sitcom fans will recognise Lorraine Cheshire from Early Doors.
Yeah. That's basically all I know her from, I think. Yeah,
it's sort of all I knew her from as well. She is in Early Doors. She plays a woman who's always sat down on the bench with her husband, and she's a bit thick, basically.
Yeah, they're both
but there's a lot of heart. That Early Doors, that character in Early Doors has got a lot of heart.
I really like Early Doors.
Early Doors is great. I actually just watched it all again last year, so it's all fresh in my head. But she's great in that. But she didn't come through the traditional route. We've sort of given a version of they went to drama school for everybody else. That's absolutely not what Lorraine Cheshire did. She was a social worker. She had kids, and she turned to acting at 38. Age 38, she went to drama school.
Oh, nice.
So her first paid acting job was in the BBC on the BBC drama Cops. She played a social worker. So I guess she was well cast for that.
Worked to what you know.
Early Doors was her first big role, really. So the fact that you've not seen her in anything before that is unsurprising.
Yeah. With Early Doors particularly, it's the vibe of that is kind of earthy, real kind of thing.
Yeah.
So getting people who are not, RADA trained actors makes sense. Yeah. Although James McAvoy was in it, so
James McAvoy was in it. So from after Early Doors, and again, like you, I will be honest, I don't think I know her from anything else other than Early Doors and Trollied. She was in Titty Bang Bang. Do you remember Titty Bang Bang?
Okay, it was a sketch show. But I didn't watch a lot of it. I can't say I'm familiar with it.
No, me neither. I watched a bit on YouTube this week, and it's it's quite good.
It's female driven, right? It's kind of
the main star was Lucy Montgomery, who was you'd recognise Lucy Montgomery, but she was kind of being the one who was being groomed for success there.
Yeah.
Also had Lorraine Cheshire and Debbie Chazen. Tony Way pops up in that a lot, isn't it? A lot of supporting characters in it. I was watching it. I was sort of skipping through different clips of it. I was like, this is really funny. I'm quite enjoying this in a very odd and peculiar way. Then did a bit more research, and Bob Mortimer was involved. Bob Mortimer was involved in the writing team. And as soon as I read that, I'm like, that's it. That's why.
It all suddenly makes sense.
You go back and watch it again, and you're like, yes, that's a Bob Mortimer line. Yes, yes. So if I would recommend Alan, go and have a look at it. There's quite a bit of it on YouTube. So yeah, Titty Bang Bang she was in. And then she was in Waterloo Road. So she was the school secretary in Waterloo Road and has been in that for years. So, that kind of paid her bills for a while. After Trollied, she was in Ackley Bridge, which is another school set drama. And, it's a serious role. There's no comedy in that. I've seen some clips of that. She looks like she's pretty good in that. So, she came to acting late in life, but she's built herself a career.
Yeah, fair enough.
And again, having listened to a couple of podcasts of her chatting, she seems like a thoroughly nice person. She seems like a very down-to-earth. I guess that's what having a life before acting can do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about Linda then?
Linda is played by Faye McKeever. She's one of those people that I seem to have seen since watching Trollied in lots of little things.
Yeah.
She's from Manchester, studied drama, and she was in Hollyoaks. She played, she was in one of the Hollyoaks spin-offs, actually. Hollyoaks in the City, if that means anything to you. That was her first significant part in 2006. Then she was in a BBC sketch show, which I've not heard of, called Torn Up Tales. She was then in Massive, which we've already talked about. So her and Beverly Rudd were the singers in the band.
Oh, yeah. And
then Trollied was her first kind of regular role. Since Trollied, though, she was in Little Boy Blue, which was the ITV drama about that poor kid who got shot on Merseyside. Right. And then she was recently in Adolescence. She plays one of the sort of medical officers in Adolescence. So she's like kind of, 6th or 7th in the cast of a lot of these ITV dramas. I'm going to be honest with you. I really like an ITV drama. It's become a bit of a guilty pleasure for me outside of sitcoms. It's a bit hit and miss, but some of them are really well produced, great casts. And there's a bit of a sort of repertory feel to it. You get a lot of actors who appear in supporting roles, and she's now one of those. She's very good. She always brings it.
Yeah, like I say, with the characters here, or the actors playing these two characters, like it never feels like they gel. And I that's what you've told me now. Kind of feels like they're from very different worlds.
Well, it's interesting you say about that lack of chemistry, and I genuinely didn't pick up on that. But yeah, they come from very different worlds, very different backgrounds. They're very different ages. I think that might be a big difference.
Yeah. Okay, we've kind of dealt with our episode, but there is one character from the principal cast that we haven't talked about yet, and that is Margaret. I want to say we're saving the best for last. I really like Margaret. I think she's fantastic. I think Margaret should be played by Rita May. Margaret as a character is a silly comedy character, but I think it strikes the perfect balance of how much you use that character, what weight you put on her. I think in a sitcom where you've got 5 characters, she'd be the silly one. That'd be fine. In this world, there's so much more going on, and she still stands out. Literally, the very first episode is called Margaret's First Day. It's like she is the character who's kind of introduced to the world.
We've seen this so many times, haven't we? We're introduced to the world by a new character.
And the idea is that Margaret is a pensioner now, basically. But she's spent her life as a housewife. She's never worked a day like in a proper paying job, so to speak. But she's going back to work as part of some sort of get seniors back to work scheme, which Valco are obviously part of. They probably get a tax rebate for it. But she's useless. Like as you would be just for lack of experience, but she's also not, she doesn't take on new information very well. And so she makes a lot of mistakes, but she's very happy-go-lucky and kind of a nice person.
And she's charming.
Andy, have you got a minute?
Bit busy at the moment, Margaret.
No, it's just that I've been thinking, if this Earl is rich, I might inherit lots of land. Ooh. Why would I keep it tidy, though?
Yep, bit busy at the moment, Margaret. There's your smoked ham.
Well, my Alan's got 2 pair of gardening gloves, but that won't be enough, would it?
Still a bit busy at the moment, Margaret. That's your turkey breast.
What if there's a manor house, Andy? How would I manage all the stairs?
And still a bit busy at the moment, Margaret.
Oh, I'm that bothered by it, I am. Anyway, I'll let you get on, Andy. I can see you're a bit busy at the moment.
She's this lovely, sweet old lady, basically. And she never really changes throughout the series, never put any kind of plot points onto her in any significant way. She's just the kind of slightly fuzzy-minded old lady that they sort of talk to, and then like, oh, let's get Margaret to do it. Oh, let's not do that.
And you get her interacting a lot with Mark Addy, and then later with Stephen Tompkinson's character, and quite a bit with Jason Watkins, with Gavin as well. And they all kind of sort of roll their eyes and shake their heads, and that works really well. It's a good foil. The only time I think is when Julie, Jane Horrocks' character, just like won't put up with it, and that kind of that sort of, I don't know, that exposes the reality of it. It's like, she is useless. I don't want to know that. I don't want to think about that because it's charming.
I'm not sure I agree with this getting seniors back to work scheme. I mean, no offence, but supermarket work's a young woman's game.
Hey, we may not be so young, but people like you and me have plenty of life experience.
I'm 42, you cheeky bitch.
So there's a real kind of sparking between them straight away. But everyone else likes Margaret.
But she's naive. She misunderstands things a lot. She has there's a recurring joke where she'll say something that sounds off, and ultimately it becomes obvious that she means something innocent.
Well, you look a bit sad, Colin. Come and talk to your Auntie Margaret.
Me and Lisa are trying for a baby.
Has she split with Neville?
That's Linda, Margaret. I'm talking about Lisa. We're trying for a baby, yeah? And she just keeps making me, you know.
Oh, I were the same with my Alan when we were trying.
Really?
And he'd got a big one. Probably bigger than yours. But when I got pregnant, my nagging paid off. He gave up that blasted pipe, and that's what you should do.
I don't smoke a pipe, Margaret, because I'm not 112. I'm talking about what happens when things get dirty in the bedroom.
You put them in the wash basket.
And I think they sort of stretch that towards the end. But then what I quite liked is they kind of get a bit meta about it. So she'll say something, and instead of everyone going, "What, Margaret? What do you mean?" Stephen Tompkinson's character goes, "Okay, all right.
Everybody calm down.
Tell me what you mean."
Oh, I've had a heck of a morning. Alan couldn't get it up.
Here we go. Couldn't get what up, Margaret? The umbrella, the wall clock, the loft ladder.
Oh, there were sheets and pillars flying all over the place, and he's huffing and puffing. Oh.
Look, here's the thing, Margaret. I'm not going there with you. I'm just not. I've been burnt too many times. You just keep on talking.
And that works quite well, because by that time, I'm getting a bit like, oh, come on, let's not do this joke again. So that's kind of what he's doing. That works quite well.
Yeah, I think that works well as well. I think they do a really nice job of stretching that, actually, and making that work. You know, helped by performance. This is Rita May playing...
She's very good.
Margaret, and it's a fantastic performance, yeah.
Where do you know Rita May from, Alan?
Well, Early Doors, primarily.
Early Doors, same as Lorraine Cheshire.
But I will say, I recently watched Threads for the first time, and she's in that.
Yes. So we should explain what Threads is for our sitcom listeners.
Threads was made in the 80s, 86, something like that. And it's...
yeah, maybe a little earlier. It was set in Sheffield, isn't it?
Set in Sheffield, and it's about what would happen if a nuclear bomb was dropped on, well, Sheffield, basically. It's very kind of stark realism and pretty brutal. But Rita May plays the mother of a family that is caught up in this tumult, and it's got that kind of, as we were talking about some of the other actors here, like that. Oh, these aren't actors; they've been sort of found on the streets of Sheffield kind of vibe. Very gritty and real. Very.
Well, it's interesting because we were talking about Mike Leigh earlier, weren't we?
Yeah.
Rita May had not been in a Mike Leigh film, but she had been in a Ken Loach series, a Ken Loach series. Called The Price of Coal in 1977. But going back before that, she was a singer. She was a nightclub singer. She laboured under the stage name of the glamorous Rita May. And, she was a glamorous club singer.
I can't see her as a glamorous club singer. She's got a grandma.
Well, I tell you what, Google it, because you'll see some pictures of her as a sort of younger woman, and she looks like a glamorous club singer. She's a good looking lass. Well, she was already not an old lady, but, aging out when she got into acting. So she's always played those older characters. Mm-hmm. And then in 2003, Early Doors, where she played the landlord's mum. And then, Trollied was like the next big thing that she did. And it was really the last series that she did. She is still alive at the time of recording. The last thing that she was in was, she was in the film, do you remember Walk Like a Panther? It was a British comedy film about wrestling.
No.
I haven't seen it, but I remember it coming out. And she's in. She plays a feisty pensioner in that,
Feisty pensioner is her vibe, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And she's great. I think she, throughout this series, we've talked about how some of the characters vary and go up and down. I think she's consistent. Her performances are great, and she does a terrific job.
She is. And to compare with Early Doors, which is kind of my other reference point for her, very different. She plays a real kind of cow in that, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a bit of a gossip and a bit of a bitch.
Yeah. So lovely stuff. I think what we've talked about a lot, so I don't think we need to go into a lot of more detail, but there was a second generation of Trollied. After Series 3, quite a few main characters left.
Should we go through some of the... I don't want to cover every character as appeared, but should we go through some of the highlights?
Do you know what? We've addressed most of them in one way or another as we've been talking. I'll tell you one person we haven't mentioned at all, so let's just give him a quick reference. A character called Harry, who I guess comes in Series 4. And he's like a young kid. He's supposed to be a teenager, and he's really smart. He's
Jack Carroll. The Jack Carroll.
Jack Carroll is the guy who plays him. He's too smart for the room kind of thing, but it never really goes anywhere. It never kind of comes to much. And his character just falls into a background thing. And there's later on, he teams up with Shy, and they're kind of two teenage boys who are not very worldly wise kind of thing, and they're trying to get laid. But it never really comes to much of anything. The other character that we have mentioned, but probably is due a bit more attention, is Cheryl Fairweather, played by Sarah Parish. She comes in as a rival manager of a rival store that is coming across the road.
And I think it was probably originally written just to be that small arc.
I don't think so. No. If you watch the first episodes, they're flirting with each other. There's a thing there. I don't know if they intended that to be a one series thing or not, but they definitely. It was an immediate attention that there was going to be chemistry between.
Well, so my read was so basically the story is they're opening up the rival supermarket across the way, and that's the rivalry. And as I said, my opinion was that's kind of what it was all set up to be for that series. But then eventually she starts working for Valco, she becomes his boss, she becomes the area manager, and they strike up a relationship, and as I said earlier, they end up getting married.
It's very possible that it was supposed to be a one series thing where they're rivals, but also there's this spark of chemistry. But they obviously found something that worked, and they stuck with it. And she was in it for the rest of the series, and becomes a crucial part of the
main character.
Cast. Yeah, absolutely. And to the point where the very last episode, which was a special over and above the last series, is The Wedding, and it's called The Wedding. So I don't think I'm spoiling too much there. And it's the story of the wedding. And I just wanted to talk about that episode a little bit because it's very different. It's very much a special. It's not just an extra episode. It's filmed out of the store. It's all on location. And it's about them trying to get to the wedding. And all sorts of comedic hijinks ensue. Pretty standard sitcom wedding stuff. Nothing too outrageous. But a really nice kind of closer to the full series. It's a double length. It's like 45 minutes. And it feels like a feature film spin-off. It's because it's filmed differently. It's got a slightly different tone to it. And it wraps all the characters up nicely. It kind of closes things off without giving everything away. And I liked it. It was a lovely job of just finishing everything down. It
was a nice ribbon on the whole thing, wasn't it? A nice way to finish it all off. And we've seen this before, haven't we, where sitcoms sort of fizzle out because they don't really know they're not going to get recommissioned.
Yeah.
It feels to me like this is the last series. We're going to wrap it all up. We're going to finish it with a ribbon.
Yeah, the last series ends with them, preparing for their wedding. So I think they must have known they were going to do a wedding special. They must have had that already in the bag. But yeah, it does. It's an end. It's very much an end. To sort of spoiler it slightly, the end is Gavin and Cheryl are leaving Valco. They're kind of moving on. And so Gavin is Valco. Without Gavin, that's it, isn't it? And I guess if they really wanted to do more, they would come back. It wouldn't be that big a deal, certainly. It wouldn't be the first time.
Well, I think the ship has sailed now. That wedding special went out at Christmas 2018.
Yeah.
So, this is fulfilling your criteria of completely finished. So you can cover it.
Yes, nice. Any other characters you want to address that you feel like we didn't talk much about?
Well, you talked about Richard France. So he comes in I think the third series as the kind of, he's from head office and he's the ideas guy and he wants to try crazy new things. He's come from somewhere else. And this really wound me up.
He was a
because when I worked for Carphone Warehouse, I remember this guy. I remember him coming in and ruining everything. He just pushed a lot of my buttons. I tell you what, he reminded me of in a sitcom context. In one of the later series of The Thick of It, Stuart Pearson was a character played by Vincent Franklin, and he came in and just annoyed everybody. And he had that. What he had was that. No, there's no such thing as a bad idea. I want everyone's opinion. But underneath that silk glove, he had an iron fist, and if you messed with him, you were out. And that was very much what was going on with Richard France.
Yeah, this is the character. I didn't like the character at all because he's just.
I didn't like him
and very annoying.
It just gave me panic attack.
But you're not supposed to like him. He is the antagonist.
No.
But also, we said this earlier, it felt dragged out. This is not a 10-episode arc. And it becomes really quite nasty between him and Gavin towards the end. And I don't know, I never really bought into it, and I didn't like that. I didn't like Series 2 and 3, really, because of these overarching series things they were doing. So for me, that first three series, the first generation, is in theory, the purest kind of vibe, but I think I prefer it later on. I think it finds its flow, it finds its groove a bit more. Although, I would be very happy to have Mark Addy there.
The only other character I wanted to just highlight is someone we have mentioned, and she's mentioned in passing in our episode, which is Gavin's first girlfriend, Anna. So before Cheryl arrives and that whole relationship starts, we have Anna, who is in the third series. So she's Gavin's girlfriend, and this creates the tension between her and Julie. Obviously, later Julie goes, so there's none of that tension when Cheryl comes along. So that's like a nice dynamic, but the character is great. So she's played by Elizabeth Bauer, and she's Spanish, hot-headed, fiery, and there's a little bit of subtle sort of BDSM hints there. She puts Gavin in his place, shall we say. But I really liked that character. I really liked the effect that she had on Gavin.
And I do like that, as much as it's a slightly odd relationship and she's a little bit sort of maybe possessive or something, it never goes into kind of nasty territory. You feel like there's quite a nice relationship between them at the heart of it. And he's trying to do right by her and vice versa. So it doesn't come across kind of nasty or anything like that.
And she made me laugh. I think she was a really funny character. I think they got the caricature just right. But it also, the impact that she had on Gavin really made me laugh as well. I thought she was a great character.
I'll tell you one more character I want to mention. And it is, so Charlie, played by Aisling Bea, who is her father who owns Valco. He's in a handful of episodes, played by Simon Delaney. And it's one of those things on paper I shouldn't like it. It's such a big character, so ridiculous. But I did. I think his performance was fantastic.
Because he's just like a complete maniac, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely psychotic.
Really, really threatening and aggressive.
And he's in 4 episodes, and I think that's right. I think it's just sort of like, come in, make a splash, scare Gavin, and then kind of get out. And I think that's where you want to be with a character like that.
Because if a man like you can get a woman like Cheryl, you must have a way with women. She's so out of your league.
Well, anyway, I'm very glad to help, sir.
God, I love you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor.
Let's go drinking. Huh? Come on, let's get fucked up. Hit some bars, get a couple of prostitutes. Come on, just the two of us. We'd be like brothers, only naked.
I'm not sure that a bit of shandy and purchasing love is the answer, sir.
No, you're right. You're always right.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, so this was my idea then, Trollied.
Yeah.
What did you think? Are you glad I made you watch it?
I really enjoyed it, I think. Yeah, I actually watched it over a period of a few months. It wasn't too concentrated because a lot of episodes. And that helped, I think. I think I got to series 4 and then took a break because it was just it's not particularly repetitive exactly. But, it's one of those things. You don't want to have too much in one go. There's lots of elements that I think are a bit weak, but it's saved by a kind of a really heartfelt kind of vibe. It's nice. It feels familiar. Jason Watkins is the center of that. His performance, but also the character that he's playing. It's a lovely, friendly character, and that imbues the whole show. Like I say, the real nasty characters, the bits that I really didn't like, but the grotesque comic characters, I'm okay with. And I think overall I enjoyed it. And I think it found its feet as it went along, and I enjoyed it more later.
As I said in the last episode, I started watching this because we mentioned it a few times. I was curious. And so I started watching it. And I got about 2 series in before I had realised I was really enjoying this. I wanted to watch the rest of it. And what's the point in doing all this if I'm not going to cover it on the show? So that's what I talked you into it.
Fair enough.
So, but I think it did change. It does change later, definitely, in several ways as we've discussed. But not necessarily for the worse. Maybe slightly. Insofar as I really loved the first couple of series. But I enjoyed series 6 and 7 as well. And I just found it really easy to watch, really fun to be around.
Yeah.
I think we said earlier that the first couple of series, you've got Jason Watkins, Jane Horrocks and Mark Addy as the tent poles. They are 3 really, really talented actors.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant. The supporting cast is also great, but there's a lot there from those 3 characters to hang things on. It feels like more of an ensemble piece later on, rather than having these 3 main characters. I think it just loses something, but not complaints. I enjoyed the last few series as well. Mm-hmm. If anyone out there is thinking they're going to try it, start from the beginning, watch the first couple of series and see what you think.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Oh, actually, before we finish, let me just say one other thing. One of our listeners, Matthew McLean, I just wanted to give him a little shout out because he won the David Nobbs Memorial Trust 2025 competition for script writing. So congratulations, Matthew.
Wow.
So it's nice that we've got, who knows, in a few years' time he might be writing a BBC One sitcom and we can get him on the show.
Oh, excellent. Oh, wow, well done.
Yeah, well done, Matthew.
That sounds very impressive. All right, yeah, keep us updated. I want to know the sitcom, what's going on out there.
I don't need to pick one listener out from our many listeners. We love you all, of course, but some of you need to raise your game.
Yeah, come on, start writing some sitcoms. Excellent. So I think we've covered Trollied there. And that rounds out our series, really, for this year.
Your classic 6-episode arc.
Exactly. We have a few more special things coming up.
We've got a little bit more Are You Being Served content, haven't we?
Oh, that's a rich theme to be explored. Are You Being Served? So there's a film spin-off.
Yeah.
But also, as we mentioned, with Jason Watkins playing Mr. Humphreys in an Are You Being Served reboot that the BBC did as a one-off in 2016. I'm fascinated. There's some great actors in that. I'm really fascinated to have a look at that. We've got a little bit of a Blackadder bonus we've got coming up, and I'm sure we can. We'll figure out a Christmas special as well. I think we'll put something.
Oh
out
yes,
Christmas week.
Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to our listeners, and of course you can find us on the socials. We're at BritComPod on Instagram, or you can find us on Facebook if you just search for the name of the podcast, British Sitcom History Podcast.
And now, at the end of the series, it's quite a good time to get in touch and throw in any recommendations you may have for sitcoms we could cover next time, because we're at a point where we're going to start making up a list of what we want to watch.
If I can make a suggestion, don't just suggest the sitcom. Give us a little bit of a reason why you think we should cover it.
Yeah.
If you just send us a list, then we've already got a list.
Yeah,
give us a good reason for why we should look at the one you want us to.
Yeah, excellent. All right. And until next time, we've got a bit more bonus content coming up next week. So we'll see you there. Bye.
Goodbye.